Well, I always find it extremely annoying when people ask me why I'm doing something and what the point is. But why are you doing it? Let's step back. They always say, let's step back. Let's step back and really tell me what your goals are. I don't really want to. I would rather, in that situation, people just kind of giving me the benefit of the doubt, assuming that I should be doing this thing, and instead kind of take on the perspective of me, the person asking for help, and just give me advice about what they would do and give input. To use an analogy, it's sort of like if I was asking someone for tips on how to do, as we would say, soccer, how to do non American football. And I wanted them to improve, I don't know how to kick a goal well. And they were like, well, let's step back. Why do you want to even do that? What are your goals as far as learning how to play soccer better? I would just be like, just tell me how to do it better.
Let's step back.
Now, that kind of micro situation always makes me allergic to, let's say, macro situations, to larger applications of this. What that means is that I miss out on doing it for big projects and larger things. It is worthwhile asking why, not on every single little tactical thing that you have, but it's good to set up an interval with projects that you're working on to say, why are we doing that? Like, why are we pursuing this idea of how we want to architect our applications? Why do we have this feature or this workflow in our software? And I definitely wouldn't do it every week, even every month, maybe every quarter. You don't necessarily want to convene a big meeting, but at the very least, you want to allow yourself or a product manager, someone thinking about the product, to kind of reassess the whys that you have. Now, as I spoke about many times, this comes up a lot in people who are complaining about blockers, right? Obviously, if something is preventing you from moving forward, it's worthwhile asking why the things are there. Like why you have to do all the governance often that's preventing you, right? And think about all of the meetings that you need to go through and the approval processes, the explaining things. It is worth asking why you have to do those things and revalidating that you actually need to follow them. Another example, kind of software-wise, I cite this every now and then, but there's a study from, I don't know, the late 2000s that Microsoft did. I'm going to get all the numbers wrong here, but they found that way over half of the features that they put into their software were not actually used by people in ways they intended them to be used. So when you get that kind of feedback, like people using features or not using features, right? It's a pretty direct answer to a why question. Like, why are we still doing this if no one's using it? It's important to kind of put into that loop, put in this automatic whying and validation or invalidation of a why. If no one's using this feature, this workflow that you have in your software is not visited frequently, nothing ever results from it, then it's really good to ask why you have it in there. Now, code-wise, you definitely want to pull out as much of the dead code and workflow as you can, because if you think about it, it's something that you have to maintain. It's something that can bring in risk as far as security, but more it's just this debt that you have, this stuff you have to spend just maintaining. So I think it's worth using a sort of, let's say, quarterly why process to kind of go through and ask why you have something, validate or invalidate that it should be there, right? Do people use these features? Are they worthwhile to have in there, or can you pull them out or cull them? The important thing is to set up these regular intervals where, at least at a product management level, you're sort of reassessing is a strong word, but you're really allowing yourself to say, why are we doing this? And you're revalidating it. As a side effect that I think is good for that, it also will allow, as new people come onto the team and as people forget why you're doing this feature, they can learn and come up to speed on why you're doing things and the way the software is. It's also good to kind of reassess problems that you're working on based on new tools and techniques that you have. So a lot of the times, a problem that you're working on, kind of a feature you might want to add, might seem so difficult or impossible or costly to do that it just seems too hard. We can't really solve that problem, so it's going to take too long and be too expensive. But when a new tool comes about, or a new way of thinking about a new process, it's good to revisit those things that you thought were impossible and maybe see if it's actually possible to do them. For example, this is just an obvious one to sort of spell it out. There's a lot of things where you need, I think they call it a wet signature. And that, over the past couple of years, it really turns out that you can just log into an online thing and make a goofy signature And that's fine. Think about these things that previously seemed impossible, and as of the state of affairs has changed, now you can go back and solve those problems. Now, and again, I think when you kind of pull back on this longer term and ask why you're doing something, what the point is,
Let's step back.
it gives you the chance to kind of clean slate it and reassess, well, is there a problem that we can actually solve, or is it still an insolvable one? So speaking of exploring whys, if you want to start doing some of that work, you can see what we in the Tanzu Labs world, we've got a long history of working in a kind of product management way, in addition to all the great Kubernetes and Tanzu application service and Spring, the build service, observability, the entire stack of things you need to write and run your software, to run your online banking or whatever. But we also have a lot of, let's say, meatware things to help you out. And you can book some free office hours with us to start seeing how we help our customers develop software, how we kind of help train them over by actually working on software, how you kind of do that product management about thinking what features to have in there. And if you go to tanzutalk.com, you can find a link to book those office hours and start talking with us. And as always, I'll put a little link up there that you can click on. And with that, I'll see everyone next time. But why are you doing it? Let's step back and really tell me what your goals are.